So now to my sermon, my message, my homily. I don't know, I've got some time because I like to talk. I want to just start with, Eric Walker Wilkstrom suggests that we have to look at our roots in order to understand who we are today and how we're going to move forward. And that's why he wrote that piece about Jesus and what his understanding of who that person is. And I think it's really important that we reclaim and we understand what our roots are. And we don't capitulate to people who bastardize, excuse my French, the messages that we own in a congregation named All Souls. Right? So this is our history. Some of us look at that history and see how it's being used today, and it's quite sad. So I give this to you today as a way to look back as to how do we reclaim a name like All Souls given to us out of a Christian tradition that is welcoming and loving and enduring and caring, and not what we're seeing in Christian nationalism today. So enough of all of that. I want to talk to you about this dude named Jesus. If you've ever seen the movie Dogma, Buddy Christ. I believe that we need to pull on Christian traditions and scriptures in order to understand how we can be in dialogue with people, right? We have to be able to be in dialogue. I went to a Christian seminary, so that way I, as a formerly raised Catholic, now you, could reshape and reframe what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist and to share this message, this good news of love and caring and compassion and inclusion, not as a Catholic, not as somebody who was against Christianity, but as somebody who could embrace both and all sides and be able to have that conversation. But enough about that. This dude named Jesus. So I want to say historical with air quotes, right? And who this person, Jesus of Nazareth, was, and how it's different from Jesus Christ, the founder of a faith, who really wasn't the founder of the faith. He was just a good Jew, or a bad Jew, depending on your take on it. And as Jefferson says to us, we have to separate the gold from the dross. So hopefully I will be able to do that with you today. So who was Jesus historically? He was a Middle Eastern Jew living in Galilee on the outskirts of Jerusalem. His parents were political refugees fleeing their hometown to escape genocide. Sound familiar? I mean, why did they have to go to Bethlehem, right? They had to go get registered. They had to be documented. He practiced the faith of his people, but was an outcast and seen as an unworthy Jew because he was from Galilee. He lived under Roman occupation. Culturally, he was probably more Greek than Jewish. He most likely spoke Greek as his first language, Aramaic secondarily, and probably only some very limited Hebrew. He was poor. According to Wilkerstrom, 80% of the people were below the poverty level, meaning they didn't have stable shelter, food, or legitimate income. Sound familiar? Stephen Patterson put in his book, The God of Jesus, Rome slowly siphoned out the life of places like Palestine. Sound familiar? Therefore, the Jesus I know, understood poverty and oppression, and he had firsthand knowledge of suffering. Jesus lived with, was one of, and spoke out on behalf of the poor, the oppressed, and the outcast. He believed everyone deserved health care. He defended immigrants. He was a revolutionary. He practiced, preached, and promoted civil disobedience. He violated religious law. He gave his life to defend his beliefs and the people that he served. And at the end of the day, he was unjustly executed by Rome as a political criminal. Sound familiar? Do we have anybody who's talking about executing their political opponents today? Ultimately, he wanted a revitalization of Judaism. He wanted to end the oppression of his people and the oppression of the people around him, and he was handed over to the Roman authority for it. He believed in the possibility of a new world order, one that was rooted in justice and liberation for all people. He was a universalist. If you believe or if you hear that creed, he descended into hell, and the third day he rose again. He freed everyone theologically, not just a particular group. The new world that he named as the kingdom of God was Basilia, a term that we would convert today to loosely translate as beloved community. Beloved community does not exist in this room. Beloved community is created when we welcome all people. Ultimately, he gives us a pretty detailed description of how to manifest this beloved community in the Sermon on the Mount, in the books of Matthew and Luke of the Christian Testament. He directs his followers to overturn social norms of oppression of the then modern world, and to challenge both religious and civil authority on all fronts. All fronts. In the Sermon on the Mount, how many of you heard the turn the other cheek? Has anybody ever heard that term? Does anybody believe that it means to take the oppression, to offer the other cheek? To turn the other cheek means that when you are struck as a slave, you do it with one hand, your clean hand. That's what he's referring to. When a master strikes his slave, he has to do it with his clean, open hand. And that is to tell his slave that he is beneath him. So if you turn the other cheek, you have to either strike your slave with your dirty hand, which means you have committed a criminal offense, or you have to strike your slave with a fist, meaning they are your equal. Jesus was putting people in a corner. He was putting the empire in the corner and telling them, if you are going to strike me, you are going to strike me as an equal. When someone tells you to give you their cloak, or give them your shirt as well, it isn't an act of obedience. It's an act of defiance, because people were poor. As I said, 80% of the population was below the poverty level. So if you want to take my cloak, you can have it. But you can also take my shirt and everything else, because it was not illegal to be naked, but it was a sin to look upon a naked person. It was unlawful. Jesus was telling people to be civilly disobedient. If a soldier asked you to walk a mile with his pack, walk 2. because it was only legal to walk one. When I was about in 7th and 8th grade, one of the priests came in and talked to us in our Catholic school, and he said, can you imagine that soldier just running along trying to catch up with that person because they had their pack? Right? Like they're just running along trying to catch up because they know, that soldier knows he's in trouble. The Sermon on the Mount, talking about the poor in spirit, was saying that we do not value the righteous who think they have it correct. We value the poor in spirit, those who have doubt, those who ask questions, those who challenge both the religious and the civil authority. Today, we as Unitarian Universalists continue that tradition with sages from all over history and the world. Whether it be Mahatma Gandhi, whether it be Siddhartha Gautama, whether it be Martin Luther King Jr., whether it be Maya Angelou. We hear of stories of people who tell us to resist, but not with violence. We are demanded to resist. We are demanded by our forebearers to challenge these systems of oppression and to overturn empire, to reform, rebuild, and reinvest. There is one story of Jesus getting angry in the Christian Testament. And that story is where he overturns the church. He overturns the temple. So when I talk to you today, I ask you, how are you going to overturn? And Ron, please forgive me. How are you going to overturn this temple? I see it with the coming soon and the 8th principle. I see it when I hear this music and see this representation. I see it when, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it out loud, my partner, Denard, and I have been together for 10 plus years. And every time, and his name is, don't fail me, all souls, his name is Denard. And every single time we walk into a UU church, except this one, people walk up to him and mispronounce his name. Guess it's because he's black and, a name like Denard is really hard. This church has been the only one where you have not done that to him. So I can ask you to continue to overturn this church. I ask you to reflect on how you can do it in a deeper way. And it isn't just our people of color. It's our trans, our non-binary, our queer, our elderly, our young women, all of those who are under attack. I ask you how you will feed them, how you will love them, how you will support them in new ways. Because if we're going to get angry, we have to get angry with ourselves first. And take that and move us forward. I have about 6 more pages of message. We are at time. I want to invite you to be and to hear. And I know for some of you, this Jesus, my social justice hero story may bring up some things. Like Wilkerson. My story of Jesus was very similar, being raised Catholic. And I'll say this to you. I am not a recovering Catholic. I was raised in a church where in the 4th grade in California, we had to do our California history project. We were told about the enslavement of the natives and the forced conversion. We were taught about the challenges of the church. And so I do not come to you as a Unitarian Universalist full of revolutionary terms about how we should overturn revolutionary spaces that I learned here. I learned those as a Catholic. And so I want you to remember when you're speaking to somebody who's Christian, when you're speaking to somebody who spouts the nationalism and the hate, you can now tell them I know the real story, even if they don't. And I hope you start by overturning your own temple, overturning this temple, and then creating the larger Basilia and beloved community. Blessed be.